Have you ever wondered why some women walk into a room and instantly change the energy without even saying a word? It's not their outfit, not their smile, it's their confidence. And confidence, my love, is what separates being noticed from being unforgettable. Ladies, let me tell you something powerful. There's a world of difference between a man noticing you and a man never forgetting you. A man can notice dozens of women in a day, in a moment, but the kind of woman who stays on his mind long after she's gone, that woman has something deeper. That woman is you when you fully step into your power. Because confidence, real, authentic confidence, is one of the most magnetic forces a woman can carry. Is the difference between blending into the background and owning the entire room. It's what makes people pause, turn, and wonder, who is she? And no, it's not about being the loudest. It's not about wearing the flashiest clothes or having the most followers. It's about energy. It's about presence. When a woman walks into a room knowing who she is, she doesn't have to speak to be seen. Confidence has a frequency. It vibrates through how she carries herself, how she walks, how she holds eye contact, how she breathes. And then men are wired to detect confidence. They feel it instantly. They see it in your posture, in your silence, in your unapologetic way of being. A woman who truly believes in herself doesn't wait for validation. And that is what makes her unforgettable. When a woman owns her flaws, celebrates her strengths, and embraces her full self, without apology, she becomes unstoppable. Her confidence isn't something that can be bought, borrowed, or imitated. It's earned. It's built through self-respect, self-awareness, and self-love. True confidence doesn't waver when he doesn't text back. It doesn't shrink when standing next to someone more successful or more attractive. It doesn't crumble in the face of rejection. Why? Because it isn't rooted in external approval. It's rooted in truth. A confident woman doesn't chase love. She doesn't beg for attention. She doesn't water herself down to make others comfortable. She simply exists in her truth. And people are drawn to that. It's her energy that speaks before she does. It's the way she values her peace over drama. It's how she can say no without guilt. It's how she walks away from anything that doesn't honor her worth, not because she's cold, but because she's clear. Confidence lets her walk away from half-love. It's what keeps her from settling for bare minimum. It's what allows her to say, I would rather be alone than in something that makes me feel unseen. And when she knows that, she becomes untouchable. Not because she's distant, but because she's disciplined. She doesn't compete with other women because she's not in competition with anyone. She uplifts others because someone else's shine doesn't dim her own. She doesn't gossip, she grows. She doesn't need to tear someone down to feel tall. She stands strong with grace, with boundaries, and with standards that don't bend. A confident woman has standards that shake the ground. She doesn't entertain mixed signals. mind games, or temporary intentions. She doesn't chase being chosen because she chooses herself. She understands that walking away from what doesn't serve her isn't a loss. It's a gain, because when she clears space, she makes room for something greater, something that matches her dot. And men, the right men, are drawn to this, not because she's hard to get, but because she's clear about who she is. She doesn't need saving. She's not waiting to be completed. She knows she's already whole. That kind of woman. She challenges a man to rise because she won't settle for being tolerated. She demands to be valued. And here's the real truth. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. Every time you speak up, every time you walk away from something beneath you, every time you honor your boundaries, it grows through discomfort, through healing, through choosing yourself. Even when it's hard, it's not arrogance. It's not pretending to be better than anyone. Real confidence is quiet, steady, solid. It doesn't need to scream. It simply is the ability to walk into any room knowing you belong there, to face rejection and not let it define your value, to stand alone and not feel lonely, because you're at peace with who you are. When a woman carries that kind of energy, she doesn't just turn heads, she leaves a mark. She becomes the kind of woman you'll never forget. Even in silence, she doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't beg, she believes. She doesn't lower her standards, she raises the room, because she understands one unshakable truth. The way she treats herself teaches the world how to treat her. And that is the kind of confidence that changes everything. When a woman lowers her standards just to keep someone around, she doesn't only compromise her desires, she slowly diminishes the level of respect she receives. A man might enjoy the ease of a woman who always says yes, who never sets boundaries, who accepts excuses and inconsistency. But deep down, he won't value her the way she deserves. Because here's the truth. Men respect standards. They may not say it out loud, but they feel it. A woman with standards doesn't accept love that only shows up when it's convenient. She requires more consistency, more effort, more intentionality. She knows that love isn't proven through words alone. It's shown through aligned actions. He can say he loves her 100 times, but if his behavior doesn't match his words, she won't make excuses. She doesn't fall in love with potential. She pays attention to patterns. She doesn't cling to empty promises or hope that someday he'll change. She looks at what's in front of her and decides accordingly. Some people may call that too much. They say she's high maintenance, difficult, hard to handle. But the right man, he doesn't see her standards as a burden. He sees them as a reflection of her value, something worth rising for. The right man isn't intimidated by her expectations. He's motivated by them because he knows anything that precious doesn't come easy. A woman with high standards isn't afraid of being alone. Why would she be? She knows that being single and at peace is far better than being with someone who drains her spirit. She doesn't confuse attention with affection. She doesn't chase mixed signals. She wants clarity, not confusion. And if a man truly wants her, there will be no question, no games, no hesitation. She would rather wait for the right one than waste time with the wrong one. And it's not just about how others treat her. It's about how she treats herself. She invests in her own joy, her growth, her success. She doesn't sit around waiting to be completed. She knows she's already whole. She's not searching for someone to save her. She's building a life she loves, a life so full, so meaningful, that a relationship becomes an addition, not a necessity. And let's be clear, having standards isn't about having an impossible list. It's about clarity, knowing what truly matters. She doesn't expect perfection, but she expects effort. She expects honesty. She expects respect. She understands the difference between healthy compromise and shrinking herself just to be accepted. She won't tolerate disrespect disguised as passion. She doesn't stay just because of how long they've been together. She knows time doesn't equal value, respect, consistency, and emotional safety do. When a woman has standards, she doesn't beg for love. She doesn't accept scraps of affection. She doesn't contort herself to fit into someone else's small world. She walks with quiet confidence, knowing that the right man won't need to be convinced of her worth. He'll recognize it. He'll honor it. She doesn't compete for attention because she is the attention, not through noise, but through energy. She doesn't live to be noticed. She lives with purpose, and that makes her magnetic. She's not waiting by the phone. She's too busy building. She wakes up with intention, driven by goals that matter. She pours into her passions, her career, her vision, and that focus, that direction. It gives her a glow that no filter could ever match. A woman who prioritizes her purpose over her presence. That's the kind of woman people remember, because her life is not built around a relationship. It's built around something bigger than herself. She doesn't chase love. She attracts it because she's fulfilled, not desperate. She moves with calm, not chaos. And men respect that. Men admire that because her life is already full and they want to be a part of it, not the center of it. She's not intimidated by challenges. She doesn't fall apart at setbacks. She stands firm. She recalibrates. She keeps going. Love doesn't distract her from her goals. Love supports them. And if it doesn't, she walks away. She doesn't put her dreams on hold for a man who won't clap for them. She doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. She grows and lets the right ones grow with her. Because when a woman is focused on her purpose, she becomes irresistible, not for how she looks, but for what she embodies. She doesn't follow trends. She sets them. She doesn't wait to be chosen. She chooses herself. She doesn't ask for permission. She takes up space. That kind of woman She's not just seen, she's remembered. A woman who carries mystery creates a sense of anticipation. She doesn't lay all her cards on the table. She doesn't reveal her every thought, every emotion, or every memory the moment she meets someone. Instead, she allows curiosity to bloom. She lets a man work to understand her, to get close to her, to uncover the depth of who she truly is. She's not cold, but she's not overly available either. She doesn't feel the need to be constantly present in his world to keep his attention. Why? Because she has her own world, her own dreams, her own passions, her own schedule, and she doesn't abandon it just because someone calls. She doesn't drop everything at the sound of a message. She doesn't rearrange her day just to be convenient. Not because she's trying to play hard to get, but because she's already engaged in a life that fulfills her. That, in itself, is powerful. It sends a message. She is valuable. She does not need external validation to feel whole. Men respect and are fascinated by a woman with a touch of unpredictability. When she doesn't always respond immediately, when she has moments in her day that don't revolve around him, when she reveals her thoughts in layers, not all at once, it creates a magnetic pull. She becomes someone he thinks about even when she's not around. She's not just passing through his life. She becomes someone he wants to figure out, someone he wants to understand more deeply. A woman who holds mystery understands the power of selective sharing. She doesn't feel the need to unpack every detail of her past or every emotion on the first few dates. She knows that vulnerability, when shared at the right time with the right person, becomes sacred. It builds trust, slowly, naturally. Words carry weight because they're not given carelessly. When she opens up, it's intentional, it's meaningful, and that makes the connection unforgettable. Mystery isn't about manipulation. It's not about pretending to be distant. It's about maintaining individuality. She genuinely has her own life. She's not sitting around, overanalyzing every message. She's not addicted to being seen. She's too busy growing, living, becoming. And that energy, that calm, centered, ever-evolving energy, that's what draws a man in. She keeps his attention not by trying, but by being. She understands the power of balance, consistency with a touch of variety. She doesn't fall into routine. She keeps things fresh through her personal evolution. She introduces new experiences, new thoughts, new energy. She surprises him, not with games, but with growth. She's not afraid to challenge his mind, to stimulate his thinking, to walk her own path. She's intellectually and emotionally engaging. And that keeps the connection alive. Mystery doesn't mean withholding affection. She can be warm. She can be loving. She can be fully present. But she knows how to protect her sacred spaces. She doesn't need to be distant to be captivating. She simply knows how to be present without being too accessible. She gives, but not everything, not all at once. And that keeps her rare. She never allows herself to become predictable. She evolves. She learns new skills. She explores new passions. She deepens her self-awareness. Whether she's picking up a new hobby, traveling solo, or simply getting more in tune with her spirit, she never stays stagnant. That's what makes her endlessly fascinating. Men remember women who challenge them, who spark curiosity, who keep them inspired. A woman who understands the power of mystery doesn't panic about losing someone's attention. She knows that true interest is fed by discovery, by unveiling, by layers, by substance. She's not easy to define, and that's exactly why she's unforgettable. But it's not just mystery that makes her magnetic. It's her joy that in a world full of chaos, noise, and emotional fatigue, a woman who radiates peace stands out like sunlight after a storm. She doesn't have to be the loudest voice in the room. She doesn't chase the spotlight. Her energy speaks for itself. A man constantly under pressure from work, responsibilities, and expectations is naturally drawn to a woman who brings calm into his world. A woman who knows how to smile in the little moments, who knows how to laugh at herself, who doesn't let minor inconveniences ruin her day. That kind of woman is a breath of fresh air. She doesn't create drama for attention. She doesn't argue to feel seen. She communicates with clarity, not chaos, and that is rare. She doesn't bring more stress. She brings relief, not because her life is perfect, but because she's learned to protect her peace. She sets boundaries. She walks away from toxicity. She avoids gossip, conflict, and the kind of negativity that weighs the spirit down. She chooses joy. She practices gratitude. And because she's grounded emotionally, mentally, spiritually, she becomes a safe space, a soft place to land. And most importantly, she's not trying to control anyone. She doesn't cling. She doesn't chase. She doesn't manipulate. She trusts that what's meant for her will stay, and what isn't will naturally fall away. That kind of woman, she doesn't just light up a room. She heals it. She doesn't allow setbacks to break her spirit, nor does she let disappointments define her worth. She moves forward, not with desperation, but with hope, with the quiet optimism of a woman who knows better days are always ahead. This resilience is what makes her breathtaking, not just in how she looks, but in how she lives. It reflects strength. It reflects faith. It reflects an unwavering belief in herself and the journey she's walking. One step at a time. Sure, a man might initially be drawn to a woman's appearance, but what keeps him interested, what makes her unforgettable, is how she makes him feel. A woman who brings peace into a man's world. That's rare. A woman who makes him feel calm, at ease, understood, without adding drama, confusion, or emotional chaos, becomes the kind of woman he never wants to lose. Why? Because her presence makes life lighter. She's not chasing attention. She's not trying to prove anything. She simply radiates joy. And the right kind of man can't help but be drawn in. She doesn't force love. She doesn't chase it. She attracts the right people, the right opportunities, the right kind of energy just by being herself. Because confidence, true, soul-rooted confidence, isn't about being loud. It isn't about taking up space just for the sake of being seen. It's about the quiet strength in how she carries herself, the way she walks into any room with her head high, not because she thinks she's better, but because she knows she is enough. That kind of energy is magnetic. It makes people pause. It makes men pay attention, not because she demands it, but because she embodies it. She doesn't need validation from others because she's already claimed it from within. She doesn't beg for love because she knows she deserves it without question, without negotiation. That level of self-assurance sets her apart. She doesn't entertain inconsistency. She doesn't wait around for someone to figure out if she's enough. She knows what she brings to the table, and she's not afraid to eat alone. She doesn't chase. She attracts. She doesn't beg. She expects. She's not afraid of being alone because she understands being alone is peaceful. Being with your own person, that's what's lonely. That kind of mindset makes a man notice. He realizes if he wants a place in her life, he has to earn it with consistency, with effort, with respect. Because confidence isn't arrogance, it's self-respect. And when a woman respects herself, the world learns to follow. She doesn't tolerate disrespect. She doesn't entertain dishonesty. She doesn't stick around for games. She speaks clearly. She sets boundaries. And when those boundaries are crossed, she doesn't plead. She walks away because she understands anything she has to lose by standing up for herself was never truly meant for her in the first place. A confident woman is also comfortable in her own skin. She doesn't compare. She doesn't compete. She doesn't conform to unrealistic standards. She embraces her individuality. She knows that what makes her different is exactly what makes her divine. She doesn't try to fit in because she was born to stand out. And that kind of confidence, it shines in the way she speaks, in how she carries herself, in the way she lights up the room without saying a word. She's not afraid to express her truth, to stand up for what she believes in, to take up space. She doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. She knows her voice matters. Her presence is powerful. Her dreams are valid. Confidence, to her, doesn't mean never having doubts. It means she doesn't let doubt control her. She faces challenges head-on, knowing failure isn't a verdict, it's a lesson. She takes risks. She embraces new beginnings. She believes in her own power to create greatness. And because of that, she inspires everyone around her. She doesn't tear others down to feel tall. She lifts. She encourages. She leads with grace. True confidence is never loud or aggressive. It is quiet, consistent, and deeply felt. She doesn't just carry confidence in relationships. She lives it in how she works, how she heals, how she grows. She's always striving to become better, not for applause, not for attention, but for herself, because she knows confidence is not a destination, it's a journey, one built with self-love, self-respect, and relentless inner work. And a woman like that, she doesn't just turn heads, she changes the room. She's unforgettable not because she's perfect, but because she's authentically, unapologetically herself. She doesn't ask for permission to be powerful. She is powerful. And that is the kind of woman a man can't ignore. That is the kind of woman who leaves a legacy.